Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 22 of the Lebanese Biodiversity Podcast. My name is Mira, and I am an entomologist. Our topic today is citizen science. We will be speaking to Roland al Moundalak from the US based organization SciStarter. To celebrate Citizen Science Month, Roland tells us more about how we can contribute to existing citizen science projects and the 1 million Acts of Science countdown this April. We also hope that this episode gives you a better idea of what citizen science is. If you are a scientist, we hope you feel encouraged to kickstart an initiative and add it to the SciStarter repository for people to participate in. If you are a nature enthusiast, we hope this gives you a better idea on how you can be a contributor to existing projects. Okay, without further ado, let's move on to the episode. See you on the next one. Hello, Roland, how are you?
Hey Mira, I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm fine, thank you. And thank you for coming up on the podcast. Um, so, before you tell us what we'll be talking about today, can you introduce us to yourself and your background?
Sure. So I'm Roland Moundalak. I was born and I've been raised in Lebanon. I'm currently based in Lebanon and working with the US-based citizen science website, SciStarter, about which we will talk soon. So yeah, it's a citizen science platform, and that's what I do, science communication.
Okay, that's awesome. So this is your current day job. Um, how did you slip into doing this? Like how did you end up working in something related to the environment and environmental initiatives and science communication?
Yeah. So my career path was unexpected because I used to be in the banking sector. So it was completely different. And when I made the switch to citizen science, it was really a switch to something that I'm passionate about. And it was by coincidence that many years ago I found out about this thing called citizen science or participatory science. So I'm hoping that it will gain more and more traction in the world and in Lebanon in particular.
So you can tell us a bit more what citizen science is. This is an
Yeah.
appropriate time to expand more on the topic, especially for people who have never heard this term before.
So citizen science, while there is no set of rules that are agreed upon by everyone about what citizen science is or what constitutes citizen science, it's the process of involving the public, which is people who are not scientists, in real science projects, projects that are ran and managed by professional scientists. So the people or the volunteers are involved usually either in the data collection phase or during the data analysis phase. And we're going to give more example later on with projects to show what we're talking about.
Okay, so it's involving the general public basically in any part of a scientific project, be it data collection or later in the analysis. And yeah, what can be an example of a project or of how people, the general public, can contribute to a project?
Yeah. So the good thing is that projects in citizen science are as wide and as varied as science itself. So you can find projects from any scientific field, whether it's biology or astronomy or conservation science. And those projects can be either done online from your couch or outdoor. One example is called iNaturalist. So this is an application or a platform where you could take photos of biodiversity around you, wherever you are, in whatever country you are. Whenever you spot wildlife around you, be it a tree or an animal or an insect, you just take a picture with your phone on the free app, upload it, and this way you would have contributed a valuable data point to science because you never know when you might come across a species that was believed to be extinct or not present in that specific area. So when the scientists see your observation, then they would be able to make new discoveries. And that's how volunteers who are not scientists can enable real discoveries to science.
Okay, so it can be as simple as uploading observations of flowers or insects or mammals that you see in your own garden, or even in on your own kitchen window. And this is just to bring home the point that you don't need to go to the other side of the world to contribute to science.
So
And now we have more and more citizen science data, or like citizen science projects that are feeding large databases. This is still relatively new in Lebanon and in the area, but in other parts of the world, it has become more commonplace. Um, can you tell us a bit more about like how citizen science projects and the general public contributing to observations can feed like large scale databases or projects that that can be worldwide projects?
yeah. So on one hand, like I said, all the observations that you might take in iNaturalist can only add up to other users' observations. And to give another example where you would do no, so this is one example about the observation aspect of citizen science. Now, another project that focuses on the data classification aspect, where the volunteer comes in and helps with classifying images, for example, that would be Instant Wild. So Instant Wild is is several projects, is a platform of citizen science projects where you would be able to see photos of wildlife, like photos taken by camera traps. And camera traps are cameras that are camouflaged and mounted on trees in nature reserves or else. So when those cameras are automatically triggered whenever an animal comes in front of them, they would end up with thousands of photos. And there's simply not enough scientists in the world to process all these photos. And importantly, crucially, AI is still not there yet. It's not as
Yes.
accurate as showing those photos to real people. So what happens is that the volunteer, the citizen scientist, comes in and sees those photos and classifies them, which means that they would assign to each photo the animal species that corresponds to it, whether an elephant or a giraffe or whatever. Uh, and when the same photo is shown to 5 or 10 volunteers, and those volunteers respond with the same way, that's when it has to be accurate. And research has shown that data from citizen scientists can be as accurate as data from projects that rely on the traditional science way, as long as the citizen science project is well designed. And part of a good
Yes.
design, like I said, is showing the same thing to several people to make sure that they will respond similarly. And this in turn can train the AI. So AI is still not there yet, but one day it will be there. And that's also thanks to those classifications.
So, what you just described to us is also setting up an efficient validation protocol. So, which means that you have all of these observations floating around online or coming from camera traps, as you mentioned. Um, when you show them to several people that have been trained with this protocol and to scientists who already have the expertise and you have the same results, this ends up giving you confidence that the results that you are producing at a large scale have a very low, and a very acceptable error rate, and that
Yeah.
they are largely accurate. Okay, well, that's great. Thank you for giving us more insight into how this actually works. And now for like the downside. Well, being someone who works on insects, I can think of a lot, but one of the downsides that I think of is, as you said, AI is not there yet because we still need to feed it with a lot of accurate data that we work on ourselves. So we are touching a little bit on the limitations that large-scale citizen science projects can have. What do you think are currently the limitations, keeping in mind, of course, that most of them are things that will be able to be resolved in the near future or later?
Yeah. So the limitations, on one hand, they are, as I mentioned, when it comes to project design, not all projects are created equal. We hope that the projects are adopting like a standardized way or trying to tick as many boxes as possible when it comes to citizen science. And while there's no consensus on which project counts as citizen science and which project doesn't, there are some guidelines, and I'm going to share the link with you later so you can put it in the comment, like
Yes,
on
definitely.
the podcast. There are like EXA is an organization, European Citizen Science Association, and it has come up with a list of 10 principles, the 10 principles of citizen science. One of those principles is that the project needs to generate real data, like real scientific data. And it has to involve the volunteers in multiple stages of the project, and so on and so forth. So these are the limitations are basically uh, each scientist's approach towards building a citizen science project. And while you are volunteering as a citizen scientist, which means that you're doing this for free, and we can talk about your motives, like why would I do this for free? But
Mm,
when you are doing this for free, citizen science projects in general tend like to run on lower budgets than traditional projects, but that's not
okay.
always the case. That doesn't mean that citizen science is a low-cost approach. It has several benefits, among which, in general, not always, it can be done with a relatively smaller budget.
Okay, but this brings us back to the idea that you shared earlier, which is in every citizen science project, one key point is how well designed it is before you start involving the public. And this will really define how successful it is, how fulfilling it is for the people who participate in this for free, as you say, because it is it's volunteering and yeah, and the outcomes, of course. So now, moving forward to your actual day job and the initiative so that you work with, can you introduce us to SciStarter?
Sure. So SciStarter is a citizen science project repository, which means that we try to gather projects from all over the web, whether they are in the US, in Europe, Australia, anywhere in the world. We try to add them to SciStarter and group them in one place. And we have a project finder where you can look for project by keyword, by location, by topic. And this makes the entire citizen science experience and the project discovery part of it much more easy and much more fun for someone who might be willing to tinker with several projects, right? And we help them with that. And in addition to grouping all these projects on our website, we also provide trainings, free trainings for beginners, like for people who have never heard of citizen science, if they want to learn about it, and they get a badge, a digital badge, which they could share on LinkedIn or on social media. Everything on our website is free. We also provide trainings for librarians and for teachers. Apart from that, we also run Citizen Science Month, which is right around the corner in April. All of April is like Citizen Science Month, and we try to stir the citizen science community as much as possible to make as many events as we can. And we are aiming for 1 million acts of science. And I'll be the one counting those, helping with counting those acts alongside
Okay.
other colleagues on our team. And we're hoping to reach 1 million acts of science. For example, when you upload a photo of an ant, if you see an ant, that's one act of science, right?
Okay. Yeah, that was
And
a question I had. Okay.
yeah. We
And
also work with libraries. We also work
okay.
with libraries on something called library kits. Those kits can be checked out just like you would take a book and return it to your local library. Most of these libraries are in the US, but there's no restriction on location. But you could take a citizen science kit from your local library, and some of these are about exploring biodiversity, and they contain a portable microscope and stuff like that, devices that are designed and aimed to help you, like to augment your citizen science experience.
Okay. So if I try to break it down by type of user, starting by the general public. The general public can use SciStarter if they want to participate in a citizen science initiative and are looking for one. So they can search for existing initiatives on SciStarter, be it in the region or in other places in the world, right? If I understood this correctly.
Yeah.
And then they can also, so if a person initiates a project, of whether they are a scientist or an enthusiast that is behind a citizen science project, can they also like somehow get in contact with you and put their project up in your repository?
Yes, anybody can add their citizen science project also for free on our platform, and I will share the link with you.
Okay.
And also, I'm the one who reviews these projects because to make sure that not everything goes live right away,
Yes.
I go and check the project, check the legitimacy of the project, and if the
Yeah,
links
and
are
its
working,
eligibility. Yeah.
because we don't want to be promoting anything that's not real or that's misleading in any way, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well, it's actually great to know that this is happening in Lebanon. So I have always kind of mentally put Lebanon and the entire region like aside in my mind when I think about active citizen science projects today. Although a lot of people in Lebanon are sensitive to the topic and like use applications like iNaturalist, etc. But it's really good to know that we have this expertise in house now, and
Yeah.
it's exciting. So thank you for doing that kind of work. And so the second category of users would be people who will benefit more from the kits that you mentioned, for example. So you mentioned that most of these were in the US for now.
Yeah,
Is it possible to have this in Lebanon in the near future, or like how would this work?
definitely. But I must mention that we don't build the kits ourselves. We provide the resources of where to buy the kit items and
Okay.
how to build your own kit. So we don't fund it and we
Ah,
don't
that's
build it.
cool. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, go on.
And that's why as long as you can find devices that are accurate, like
Mm,
such as a light sorry, a light pollution detector. Like some devices need to meet some standards, but as long as you can get something that's good quality, feel free to build your own kit and to put it in your library if you're a librarian.
yes.
So we
And
provide
so,
that. We
yeah.
provide the references like how to build your kit, what you need, and you can take it from there. Build as many kits as you want.
And is it also something that natural reserves can benefit from, for example, because they would have access to the resources? Would you think that like this would be a good idea.
They could definitely include one of our kits on their premises because like especially when with the kits that include binoculars, for example, because you need binoculars if you're watching birds, if you're
Yeah.
counting birds. And by the way, bird counting is a thing. Like there's the oldest citizen science project, which is still running, is about counting birds in your backyard.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love this.
And
Okay,
again,
well,
it's real science. That's the cool part.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I can see this like the idea of having a kit or like access to resources to building kits being useful in a lot of contexts. Well, some individuals might want to build their own kits, but I can see those being rented out in natural reserves, for example. I mean, why not? Especially because for a lot
Or
of
for free,
things.
like to incentivize them.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. For a lot of people, participating in one session where you look into a microscope or hold the binoculars for the first time, and find something yourself is a really core memory and one of the things that gets you into becoming a naturalist, it like or a casual naturalist later on in life. Okay,
Yeah.
this has gone all over the place, but thank you for patiently answering all the questions I had in this.
Mhm.
Now, we did mention a bit earlier that April is Citizen Science Month,
Yeah.
which I have learned about not long ago when you contacted me, actually. And like, let's see what are some ways that the people listening to us can contribute to Citizen Science Month. So,
Yeah. So basically, whenever you do citizen science, whenever you classify an image or observe something and upload your photo, that counts as an act. Some projects are called affiliates, SciStarter affiliates, which means that we automatically get notified and it automatically gets added to our 1 million count. And with other projects, you could go ahead and report. We have a reporting form where you could say that, all right, I went today and contributed to this particular project and made 10 contributions, and it would count towards the 1 million acts too. You could also go visit our events page because we also have a listing of citizen science events, some of which are organized by us, others are co-organized by SciStarter and NASA, and some events are simply listed on our website and organized by other people. So you could also go there, and some of these events are online, which means that you can join them from anywhere. Webinars, whether you have like you only need Zoom, right? An internet enabled device and Zoom, and that's it.
okay. So it can be as simple as uploading a picture from somewhere near you or on one of your hikes, or even if you are outside Lebanon. And if people are interested in finding something that they can actively participate in that has a wider range, they can look up initiatives on your website.
True. Yeah.
And a question here that is a bit, maybe a bit vague, but like when I started out, well, I mean, I was always interested in nature, but like a lot of people, when I started looking for something more precise to study or to be interested in. I don't know how to explain this otherwise. I was always looking for tools. So you always like try to find, well, ideally mentors, but sometimes book, field guides, things that can help you like, feed this interest that you have and kickstart your activity in the field. So how can SciStarter help people who are just getting started in their interest in nature and, looking for a way to develop skills or to use skills that they already have or to, gain more confidence in their skills.
Yeah, so they are definitely encouraged to take our Foundations of Citizen Science training. It's a free training. It takes about an hour, and you will end up with a digital badge. Apart
Okay.
from this, speaking of tools, any project they find on SciStarter.org has a project page, obviously, and on that project page, it's mentioned, the needed materials are mentioned, whether you need something very specific or simply your phone. And on the same project page on SciStarter, we also list educational and training materials, which are links that help you get your feet in the water with each project, because each project is specific and has specific requirements, which brings me to a very nice aspect of citizen science. To be able to join these projects, some of which are astronomy projects, like I'm no astronomer, but to join that project, they introduce you to everything you need to know to be able to accurately classify those images. And therefore, this makes citizen science uh, like it's science education in one way or another, because
Yes.
you have to learn about that project or projects about neuroscience, for example. You have to, like, they initiate you and they give you everything you need to know about brain science, for example, to be able to classify blood vessels. And that's really cool.
Okay, so you would just encourage people to like find something that they already click with, or that maybe they resonate with a bit more, and just go for it. They will pick up skills along the way because most projects will have a structure that guides you through the basic knowledge and an introduction to the topic. So you will
Yeah.
leave with more knowledge on the topic than you started out with. And
Yes,
a few examples.
learning
Yeah.
about science, like this thing, learning about science is only one of several motivations for someone to go in and actually volunteer, dedicate time and effort into something.
Okay. And what are a few examples of projects that are like up and running and that have Lebanon in their range? You just mentioned some astronomy projects that people could participate in from anywhere in the world because we
Yeah.
technically share the same sky almost. But any other examples that come to your mind?
I was actually referring to online-based astronomy projects. Uh, there are projects that can be done outdoors, and you need a telescope and professional material, but most
Okay.
of them can be done like from your computer, because and some of them are even funded by NASA, because NASA funds many citizen science initiatives, including SciStarter. Like NASA is among our funders, but some projects sponsored by NASA are about classifying satellite images, like satellite images from space, from the comfort of your home. And this is how you can contribute to astronomy. And there have been discoveries, like real discoveries, enabled by citizen scientists. And those citizen scientists, be it a kid or a teenager or anyone, would be listed as co-authors of the papers that come out of these projects, which is amazing.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, this is great. I see people, it was a running joke in the beginning, but actually people can put their cat as a co-author. So, like a person who actually participated to the project, whatever their age, I don't see why they shouldn't be listed as a co-author to something that they contributed to. But so this is also to say that you don't even have to go outside. You can contribute from your home just by, having internet connection.
Yeah.
Okay, well, again, thank you for patiently explaining all of this. Now for one or two questions for the closing section. How do you feel your work with SciStarter has contributed to what we know, or the state-of-the-art knowledge of biodiversity in Lebanon?
Yeah, so I'm a citizen scientist myself. Before joining SciStarter, I used to do some citizen science, and even now in my spare time, I try whenever I see something interesting, I try to take a photo of it and upload it. So that's one way. Another way would be the fact that I'm a tester with SciStarter. I have to test projects from time to time to make sure that they are running, to know what we are promoting. And therefore, when I test those projects, oftentimes I make real contributions. Like I go about and classify some images as any other citizen scientist would do. And a third way which which is dear to me, that I'm contributing to citizen science, to spreading the knowledge about citizen science in general and in Lebanon specifically, is when by reaching out to you guys, to science communicators, and by organizing events to people here in Lebanon to let them know about this. And I always think to myself that whenever I take part in one of those events, let's say 10 to 20 kids were exposed to the material I'm presenting, it's enough for me if only one kid takes this idea and becomes somehow dedicated to citizen science. That's enough for me. If at least one person per event found this inspiring enough to carry the flame forward. And we need that, like anywhere. We need it globally and in Lebanon too. Since our government is not entirely research oriented when it comes to conservation science, so maybe
Yep,
that also helps put the country on the global science map.
on the map. Well, I think that this is one part of the solution. So it depends on whether you are working on plants or birds or mammals or insects, and how well known the group is, I would say. For things that can be recognized by pictures, there is a lot that can be done and moved forward with like a big contribution from citizen science and the general public. And
Yeah,
for other things like insects, which will usually require taking them back home and looking at the binoculars and working with very little available data, that will
yeah,
still require more contribution from people who have the expertise. And of course, the general public has their role to play in this as well. But this is something where we are still very early in the knowledge. So I would agree that the general public can help bridge the gap, but that also, in all cases, like in all countries, pushing for conservation policies and basically having well-rounded up conservation strategies still requires the government to be very present. And we hope that this bottom-up dynamic,
yeah,
people being more interested in the environment. I see it, also just with my own interactions with people, with speaking to people in their own work. We do see that there is an interest in the environment and in conservation that is picking up. So what I can hope is, and what I'm sure will help, is this dynamic and this interest will also make it easier to push for conservation policies and hopefully for the government to be more involved, because
yeah.
this is what we want and this is what we need.
And even beyond governments, here's an example. Last summer, I took a photo of a snake, which I saw like in the building, in the parking of our building. So I had to kill it because I had no idea if it was harmful. Like it's not like I could contact a herpetologist and let the snake wait, right? So, and there are kids in the building, so I had to kill it. And then I posted the photo on iNaturalist. And this is when someone from Lebanon, a herpetologist, commented on my observation and told me that this is not harmful, and most snakes at least up until a certain altitude in Lebanon, are not harmful. And
Yeah.
this is how the population helps each other, uh, by enlightening each other, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. It's also important to have a network, and this is why I mentioned a bit earlier on. Ideally, you would want to find someone to mentor you, or people that have a similar interests, and this will motivate you to go out and explore together. It helps, but now the advantage is that you have access to the community online, and eventually this creates opportunities for you to meet these people eventually, huh? Who knows?
yeah,
And so, what advice would you give to people from any background, like as is your case? Naturalism or working with nature was not your background, but you are interested in this, and now it is a big part of your time. It is your day job, actually. A big part.
yeah,
So, what
yeah.
advice would you give to people from any background who are interested in contributing to knowledge on nature and contributing to conservation and just
Yeah, well, I would say
diversity. Yeah.
just try it. Just try it. Just take the first step, and then you will know if you like it or if you prefer projects from other scientific fields, and and know that you can help your own community from like just by volunteering. And you don't need, when we say volunteering, it doesn't have to be in groups or look for events online to find an event and drive all the way there. It doesn't have to be a hassle. You can simply go to the nearest forest near you or anywhere and just volunteer, right? So in short, just take the first step, and you could help like your community in real ways, because again, it is real science, and you never know when you might help contribute to a real discovery.
Yep, I would agree. And well, thank you very much again for coming up on the podcast and for your time. It was really cool
Thank you.
to know more about your work and also all the possibilities it brings to us in Lebanon, much closer than we think.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.